Bob, hang it up. It's good. It's good.
So, first of all, the book's awesome. You know, I read it cover to cover. It was great. You know, great insights into you and your family and your life. I feel like the overwhelming theme, hard work and preparation. You know, almost every other page, preparation. This happened because I was prepared.
Probably the best story about preparation that kind of solidified that thought with me was following my senior year at Gonzaga, and really there wasn't much interest for me. There wasn't a projected draft choice or anything like that. And a guy dropped out of a game during the Final Four. It was like an all-star game, if you will, for college athletes, and again, I wasn't invited. When the guy dropped out, they needed a player, and I was semi-local, and they said, hey, would you be willing to play? I said, sure. And went over there, ended up playing pretty well with Bobby Knight watching, who was the coach of the Olympic team that year, and a number of NBA people, and all of a sudden my stock rose, all because I was prepared that one day, that one expected day when my opportunity came. So that happened so many times throughout my life, and it is important just to stay ready, because you never know.
You know, obviously the book's titled Assisted. You know, most people might say, oh, John Stockton, the greatest assist guy, you know, of all time, but it's all about, you know, who helped you along the way.
All along, there's people that have contributed, probably without knowing that they had any impact. Second grade teachers, the nuns, the Sisters of the Holy Names that taught me throughout 8th grade. A coach that stepped in, somebody that was walking down the street, as you mentioned, and my dad introduced me. I mean, you just never know where these people can contribute, and they did, and they contributed in positive fashions. And here's a young man who could have probably gone any direction at any time, and they kind of kept that course steering straight and gave me opportunities to enjoy some success. And you just, I think my dad used to say, yeah, there's a best-selling novel on every street corner. And I think that's really true. All these people that have contributed, their stories are tremendous stories, and they're fun to tell.
Yeah. You know, looking back and after writing it, how kind of cool is it to reminisce about those stories and, you know, share this with her and your family?
The walk down memory lane was the best part. I mean, from day one, from my first walks to school with my brother Steve, through the wedding days, through college times. I mean, just to be able to go back, relive those things, try to recall some of the details and some of the humor that goes with it. That was definitely the most enjoyable part of this whole process.
Talk about, you know, the coaches in your life. Obviously, Coach Pickett, who helped you write the book, and how important your coaches were to you.
Well, I always held my coaches in such esteem, and they all earned it, and they all maintained it. Every one of them contributed. Coach Pickett, who helped write the book, was really my first influence. Well, actually wasn't. He was my own personal first influence as a 6th grade player, realizing what the ends of our abilities can be. He really stretched what we believed was possible out of our bodies at a young age, and I carried that with me throughout my career. But even throughout that, my high school coach, my college coaches, these guys are all great men, really good people that cared about their athletes, cared about their kids. And here we get to Coach Sloan and Coach Layden up in the pros, and it stayed the same. These are people that are worthy of admiration, and they have mine.
One story that I liked that was kind of, you know, it was a unique insight into you. You know, you were known for not missing games. You and Carl both. Share the story about, I think it was an AAU game when, you know, you were sick and the game kind of like happened and Coach Pickett wasn't there and you weren't playing, and then he showed up, and kind of what happened in that story.
Well, I think I had a fever, and I remember sitting in the room, and these guys knocked on our door and said, you guys have a game in 10 minutes. The parents are gone, the rides are gone, the coaches are gone for dinner. Everybody's missing. So we walked down to the gym, and while we were walking, I guess we collectively decided I should just be coach, since I'm obviously too sick to play. So I wasn't doing a very good job, because we were getting thundered early until Coach Pickett kind of came stomping in his cowboy boots and tattered jeans, and you're in. He was in, and things were as they should have been, and that was a nice little victory. Kind of, you see how getting everybody on the same page with the like mindset, you can be successful. When you're all wandering around trying to figure out what you do, you're not going to be very successful.
You touched about it briefly with Coach Sloan. Is when you were on the road, you know, he would kind of sit in the hotel lobby and almost like wait for guys to come back, and he said he could count on you, like clockwork, to come in, you know, after dinner. And you guys would sit and talk, and you said how important those talks were to you, how you talked about everything, you know, from basketball to life, and, you know, share a little bit about what that meant in those times.
Well, you don't get a chance to be around special people like that in that environment very often. I think, you know, the workplace isn't designed for it. Had this been modern times, you go with the chartered aircraft and whatnot, you go very businesslike, you enjoy the game, you get on the plane, you go to your hotel, you practice. that was kind of dead time. You couldn't go anywhere. The airplanes weren't flying. You're walking back after dinner, and it's either turn on the television or enjoy the people who are around you. And I got to enjoy some special people, starting with Coach Sloan, but also Phil Johnson would be there most nights. And I just love those times. I mean, some of the more special times of my whole career.
Do you have anything similar with those guys today?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. It's not with the frequency. You said monthly, so yeah, you don't get the frequency, and that's a shame because they're fun to be around. But I just a few minutes ago had a chance to bump into Coach Sloan, and those are always good times.
Yeah. You mentioned a phrase that I like throughout the book. Every now and then you would say, like, that's in my highlight reel. Almost like, in my memory, that's what I'm going to remember forever. Talk a little bit about your highlight reel and kind of what makes the highlight reel today.
Well, again, the book was kind of framed along the timeline of basketball, and so it's all directed at basketball. Not all the highlight reels are from basketball. A lot of them are in the house, dragging the kids across the floor in some sort of weird wrestling thing we might do. Those would be highlights beyond the reel. But since the book was along the basketball timeline, the beating the Houston Rockets to go to the NBA Finals is the probably top five.
Yeah.
All five of the top five.
Right.
That was a really special time for us and as players, and certainly the organization too.
I was fortunate enough to talk to Greg Foster last year. He was in town. He's coaching now at UTEP.
Good.
And I asked him about those years, and he mentioned the best times were the bus rides and the camaraderie. And you had similar sentiment. What made those bus rides, and being around the guys so much fun?
Well, one of the unwritten rules with our team, and I don't know whether Frank started it or Jerry, but they take the earphones off. Put the cell phones away. There weren't cell phones when I started, so we didn't have that problem. But by the time we were done, earphones and cell phones were very prevalent, and you don't get to know each other. The best times, the most memorable times are on that bus, because there's no holds barred. You say whatever you want to. It bounces off guys without problems, and it's a lot of fun. But some of that's lost today with technology.
Yeah, you briefly kind of touched on it. You said Coach Frank Layden said to you when you were a rookie, I believe, don't change who you are, and you never did. As a player, talk about keeping that in your mind. Whether it be you said your haircut or your shorts or whatnot. Yeah,
I always joke about it. He said don't change, so I never even changed the size of my shorts. But people can seem to get a kick out of that. But no, he was. There's a real tendency, I think, to get cool. I mean, you're in the NBA, and that is neat. It's special, and it is something to be proud of. But if it changes who you are, then it takes some of the luster off of it, I think, and it probably hinders your growth because you already feel like you've arrived. And he was just great. He was master at knowing our minds and how to reach us.
You had a moment with Trey, Burke, Alec Burks. They came to visit you in Spokane. I know a lot of Jazz fans are curious about how that went. From your perspective, what did you see in those guys, and kind of what went down? I don't know if it was a weekend or a few days.
It was just a couple of days. They're both really good young men, and I enjoyed being around them. I think I probably got more out of it than they did, an opportunity to share old thoughts, think back about things that worked and didn't work in my career and try to pass those on. But really 2 days isn't enough to impact them.
Yeah.
Mostly I babbled. I sat there and just kind of rattled off whatever came to my mind as we were doing certain drills, and they were just good guys, and it was fun working with them.
Do you see potential in him, or what do you see in Trey Burke?
I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all the other stuff goes out the window when the ball is thrown up and the buzzer starts the game. That's when you find out. I'm really looking forward to that time. I think he's a really good learner. He's a very talented young man, and I'm looking forward to getting that chance. I know he's been injured.
Cordon Hayward. He has a similar storyline as you, at least early on. Kind of a normal kid from a small town, small school, was booed when Jazz fans heard he was drafted. Even he's careful with his money. And now he's kind of thrust into the spotlight as a leader. Talk a little about Cordon Hayward, and do you see any Stockton and Hayward?
I don't sit there and compare myself very often with anybody. It just I usually come out on the bottom end of that, so I try to avoid it. I see tremendous progress out of him, even in a couple years. He's clearly talented coming out of college,
yeah.
Young. He had to jump into the spotlight pretty quickly, and now it's really there. I mean, there's nowhere else to run to. So I'm looking forward again to seeing his development. I think he's taken some major strides just this year.
Yeah, you got a quick second to step into practice.
It was fun. First I saw Briggsy there, and then Booner and Doug Burrell. I mean, kind of again, all these people that were around when I was still playing, and they're still here kicking it. So I see old Matt over here out of the corner of my eye. I'm looking forward to saying hello to.
Can I ask one question?
How are you?
How come I can't get a book?
Huh?
I mean, all the books out there, you can't get me a book?
What, is the bookstore closed?
We're
Is the
friends.
book-
Is the bookstore closed? How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Thanks for interrupting.
Oh, yeah, you guys are done anyways.
That's good by me.
That was good.
Thanks, man.
No, I'm just kidding.
How's everything?
Good. How are you?
What's the kids? What's
No,
the
we
count
got a lot
right
to
now?
talk. That's why I came in. I want to talk to you. Okay. A lot of family stuff going on.
Good.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't want to.
No, that was it.
Yeah.
I told you it was it.
How'd you know? See,
They told me.
you professionals.
No,
Hey, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.